Hello everybody, today I'm going to show you how to make this beautiful rose in Adobe Fresco on the iPad. So it's kind of just like one stroke painting, but of course it's all digital and it's pretty easy once you get the hang of it. So let's jump right in and I'll show you how to make it. Okay, so to start off, I have a square canvas of 2100 pixels by 2100 pixels, and I'm going to go over here to my live brushes and I'm going to select the oil paint glaze brush. You can really choose whichever, but I'm just going to go with the oil paint glaze, and I'm going to select kind of a reddish pink color, kind of dark, and all I'm going to do is start painting with it, right? Just a nice little swatch there. And then I'm going to select another pink, a little bit brighter, and I'm just going to paint right next to it. Okay, and as I start going into this dark pink, you can see how it starts to blend. And what that actually is because of this paint mix setting right here, this little swirly thing tells me how much my paint is gonna mix. So if I turn it all the way down, it wouldn't mix at all, right? You don't see it mixing, but if I turn this all the way back up, you'll have that paint mix. So I'm just gonna gently start to blend those two together back and forth until I feel like I see a nice gradient there that I think will look good. Okay, and then I'm gonna go back up here and I'm gonna grab a really light pink, almost white, and I'm gonna go right next to this pink and start blending those together until I like the way that looks. Okay, and I kind of want this white to come in pretty far, so I might just do a few swipes there and get a nice blend. Okay, so from there, what we're gonna do is we're gonna tap this eyedropper, and automatically there's two little options here we can have, and this box is actually portable kind of a thing. You can move it around your screen, so if it's not right here in this menu, check around your screen to see if it's there. But I'm gonna tap this second option, which is the multicolor option, and that means I can select this whole thing as one swatch. So you can see over here in this preview what it will look like, and I think that looks pretty good. I'm gonna zoom out just a little bit more, and then I'm gonna tap on that swatch preview and then tap this plus sign down here. That way I'll save it in case, you know, anything happens. I can always refer back to this and tap that and my swatch will be selected. So now I'm gonna go up here into my pixel brushes and I'm gonna go to the lettering section, and we're gonna tap the small chisel brush, and I have this favorited, but you can do whatever you'd like there. And from there, I'm going to add a new layer, and then I'm going to tap this one and hide it. So I can show you what this lettering brush does. So it looks like that. And what's really important about this brush are the settings. So same thing down here, we're going to tap on this brush setting icon, and we're going to go into shape dynamics. I already have my settings saved for this brush, but what's really important about this one is that under control here, you have the none option selection selected. So I have that already done. All of my pen settings are pretty much set. I have the flip X and Y jitters off, minimum diameter is off, angle jitter is off, size jitters down. My scattering, all of these are zeros, basically none and none. And transfer, nothing there. Okay, just so you know my settings. And then what we're really going to mess with most of this is going to be the angle. So we're just gonna, you can always change the angle of this brush, which is awesome and really fun. And I'm going to start off with around 95%. That's straight up vertical, and my spacing is at 0. So to get started, what I'm going to do is we are gonna draw rose petals basically. And to draw a rose petal, I always start off with little pressure with my Apple pencil, and then in the middle it's a lot of pressure, so it gets bigger, and then little pressure, so it's little, big, little. And we're just gonna basically do this all around, and we're just gonna be changing the angle to get the dimension of the rose petals. So before I do that, I'm just gonna add a bunch of layers by tapping this little add layer icon, and I'm gonna start kind of right here. That way I have layers and I don't have to keep adding them later on. I mean, I probably will, but just so I can have layers, and that'll help my workflow. So to start, I'm just going to start with a vertical rose petal right here, and to undo, you just tap with 2 fingers. I'm going to go to the layer below here, and this is where we start figuring out what angles we like. So I'm going to add, I'm changing this angle to be about 118 degrees, and I'm going to have that petal right there. And then I'm going to switch the angle back the other way So I can have a petal this way, and now it's at about 68 degrees and have a little petal there. And I don't like the way that one looks, so I'm just gonna undo and bring that one around, okay? And then I'm gonna tap this layer below, and we're gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna actually switch this all the way to be 151 degrees and start bringing that flower in. Maybe not that far, just a little bit. See, it's a lot of undoing and redoing. And then back this way. And you can honestly, it's just a preference of where you want to see your petals go, but I like that. And then I'm gonna do this last layer down here, and I'm going to flip this all the way around. So I'm gonna have the light color is gonna be on the bottom here and the darker colors on top, because these are the petals that are coming out towards us this way. So I'm gonna start with one. Let's see how that looks. Actually, I'm gonna move this. And we're gonna go a petal here. And then I'm gonna have the other petal go this way. That's at 51 degrees. And one right there. And then on top of those two, let's do the straight down vertical one. Okay, so there we go. Those are the base petals. And so I always recommend starting with all the outer petals and then working your way in from the back and then forward. So you'll see what I mean in a second. So I'm going to tap the next blank layer up here, and I'm going to switch my angle again and just draw some petals around the back. Make them pretty big. You can make them smaller and a little bit more delicate if you'd like, if you want to have a lot of petals, or you can do, you know, pretty big petals there. Okay, and there's going to be some white space. We'll fix that in at the very end, but for right now, I'm gonna go for the middle. This is going to be the very center of the rose. So we're going to kind of do a little half moon shape here, maybe a little bit bigger than that. There we go. And then I'm going to add another layer. And to do this next one, we're going to do a little swoop, like a little boomerang, so we can get that curl around. Okay, and then I'm going to go on another layer so I don't mess with that, and ever so slightly tilt it. This one's at 82 degrees. And we're just going to start building petals around it. So you want these petals to be in front, okay? And I'm just going to keep redoing it until I'm happy. There we go. That one's good. Okay, and then I'm going to add one there. And let's go around this side. You know what? I think I'm going to switch the angle back to be going out this way. We want this petal to be kind of blooming outwards. Okay, and there we go. Nope. Yes, there we go. Okay, and I'm going to add a bunch of layers here. I just like having as many separate layers as I can, and that's the nice thing about Adobe Fresco. There's unlimited layers, so I'll just make use of that. And I'm just going to keep going. I'm going to tilt this angle ever so slightly more, and we're going to do a petal right here. And then I'm going to tilt it back the other way and do a petal over here. Okay, and we're just going to keep going, and I'm going to try to overlap them really nicely in a way that looks good. Okay, so okay, so this is where it's nice that everything's kind of on a separate layer. I want to hide this one over here, but I need it to be behind these other front layers. So I'm gonna figure out where that layer is. I'm gonna hide and see. I think it's these. So I just need it to be on top of this one. Okay, so I'm just gonna add a layer above this, and I'm gonna go in and just hide where those petals line up. Okay, and same thing over here if you want. I'm gonna go back up here, change my angle, and we can continue on. Okay, so now we're getting to the front here. We're getting around to the very front of the flower, and I really want to make sure that we're covering as much white space. I know we're going to fix most of this, but we want to kind of cover all of our bases. So as we get around to the front, we're going to give it a really severe angle. I have this at about 160%, and I'm going to have it at a pretty severe angle so that it looks like, you know, it's going from straight up and down to coming and blooming outwards. So now we're gonna go other direction, and I'm gonna have it basically going at about 23%. And I'm gonna go from all the way back here. Maybe. There we go. Okay. And maybe do one beneath that one. And I'm gonna put another petal there, make the angle a little bit less severe, and bring it right in here. There we go. Okay, so now that I'm done, I am going to add a layer at the very bottom beneath everything, and I'm going to select the deepest pink that we had, and with the same brush I'm just going to color that in so we can cover all that white space. Okay, so I'm noticing a little bit of overlapping here, just because we have, you know, a lot of layers, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to tap on these 3 petals. Those are the ones that we're seeing right here. You can see that. I'm going to add a layer above those, and then the same thing, we're just going to very gently cover that so it just looks like the rose petals are going straight down. Okay, just right there, and a little bit, you know what, I think that might be another petal right there. So we're just going to do that. If we see any overlapping anywhere that we don't want to see, we're just going to kind of cover that up with the darkest pink shade that we have. Okay, so now you're done with your rose. So now we're going to go back to our oil paint live brush, our oil paint glaze brush, and on a new layer, I'm gonna grab some greens, and we're gonna basically do the same thing that we did to get our pink, our ombre pink swatch, and I'm just gonna draw a few color green shades here, and we're gonna get a nice swatch of those. So I'm actually gonna hide this rose, and we're gonna start this all on a new layer. So paint with your green. Maybe grab this one. I was testing out some greens earlier, but I didn't really like those. So we're gonna see how these look, and just make sure you blend those nicely. Okay, and then I'm gonna grab an almost white shade here. Maybe I'll make that a little bit closer to yellow. See how that looks. Yeah, I think that looks pretty. Okay. And then go back to my middle green that I had going on, and mix this all together, make it look smooth. Grab your multicolor eyedropper and pinch, and you have a nice swatch there. I'm gonna actually grab a little bit more. See, you can see how it, you know, this will change. So I'm gonna make sure I have just the right amount of green that I want in there, and then tap to add that. And then we're gonna go back up to that same brush we had. Okay, so now this is where the brush settings really come into play. So I'm going to hide this layer and bring back actually on a new layer, I'm going to show you why these brush settings matter. So with the settings we had it on none, right? So we have control, this is on the selection of none. And so that means that there's nothing really, you know, messing with these brush settings here, right? If I draw vertically, it's gonna look like that, horizontally like that, and that's with the angle at 91. Like if I changed it, you know, to be 3%, it would be basically the opposite. But what I want when I draw leaves is for the shape to always be as flat as possible. So I want to change this to be, now I'm gonna go under shape dynamics, under control, we're gonna tap direction. Okay, so now we have direction selected, and I'm gonna make sure the angle is, we wanna see this flat side of it. So around like our 94, 95% again. And that way, whenever I draw, you know, if I draw down, if I draw diagonally, whatever it is, it's always gonna have this nice flat leaf shape. So to draw a leaf, you're gonna do basically the same thing as your rose. You're gonna have harder pressure to give your the bigger size of the leaf, and then taper it off with a lighter pressure. Okay, so with this layer, I'm actually gonna move this to be below the rose. I'm gonna turn the rose layer on again, and I'm actually gonna center this rose just to make sure I can get all the leaves in that I want to. And then I'm gonna tap done. And back on this blank layer, I'm just gonna draw the leaves and where I want them. So we're just gonna use big pressure, little pressure from the inside of the rose outwards. So big pressure, and then make it small as you go outwards. Maybe add a few right here. Maybe redo that one. There we go. And then maybe we'll do, you know, one over here, couple, and then maybe just one extra right there. Okay, so now you have your rose, and to make this pop out a little bit more, you can leave it on the white, or I like to add another layer beneath the leaves and beneath your rose. And what we're going to do is we're going to tap this bucket color option, and I'm going to have this deep pink color selected. It's just a little bit darker than the pink we have here in the rose, so we're just going to tap this layer, and it'll ask you what type of layer you'd like to make it. We're just going to tap pixel, and our color margin, it doesn't really matter for this, but we can just leave it all the way up. And there you go. So now you have a beautiful rose made in Adobe Fresco that kind of looks like one stroke painting. Super easy. It takes a little bit of practice to get used to it, but I think the results are really fun, and you can make any color rose with this. You know, you could do bright, beautiful colors, like, you know, purple, blue, whatever you'd like. And one more thing before I go, I want to show you this other rose I did. You can, if you do a little bit of a wiggle with each brush stroke as you go around, you can kind of make the petals look a little bit more jagged, a little bit more realistic. So that's another option that you can try out. But yeah, I hope you really enjoyed this, and I would love to see if you recreate this. You can tag me on Instagram at The Creative Bix, and happy creating. Thanks for watching.